What's up, y'all? It's your boy Mixed by IP, back with another video. As you guys can tell by this week's title, today we're going to be talking about the 5 biggest mistakes that people make when they're recording and mixing their vocals. And if you're new to my channel, I teach people how to record, mix, and master at a professional level on Logic Pro X as well as Pro Tools. So if you're not already subscribed, what are you doing? Hit that button for me so I can teach you how to be the best engineer you could be. So number 1, and this is in no particular order, I'm just going down the line here. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people do when they're recording is they don't gain stage. So for those who don't know what gain staging is the pre-preparation of the recording process, where you turn down the levels a little bit below 0 so that there's room for extra loudness or you know, spontaneous points of like unexpected clipping and stuff like that. The last thing you ever want to do is have an artist in a studio and they do a take and you look at the final recording and it's clipped because you didn't gain stage and that you had their mic just to the normal 0, and when they went a little loud, it went into the red line. You never want your vocals to red line. Redlining distorts your vocals and you can never really go back. When your vocals come in at a normal or below volume level, you can always turn those vocals up with compression. You can never take a distorted redline clip and bring it back to its best quality. Right off the bat, those vocals are already damaged. And that's one of the reasons that gain staging is so important, because it allows you to have headroom for extra volumes where you want to turn something a little more up here and a little. If you have everything at just a normal 0, your track, your song is going to be already, if you go look at the master track, you're already peaking and you're gonna have to turn everything down anyways. So that's one of the things that every engineer needs to do, and I see about 50% of engineers that don't do it, and you really can hear it. It reflects on their final mix in a negative way, and you can tell. So what I usually do to start off a track is, first off, I take the beat and I lower the beat a little bit, like -3 to -5 dBs. And what that does is that allows me to also lower my microphone a little bit so that if an artist wants to get loud, they can get loud without distorting the vocals and peaking. So then, if your beat is at -3 and your vocals are lower, you can always in the mixing process end up raising the final gain of the master track with a limiter or something like that, and it brings everything to the highest volume possible while still maintaining the quality. You can never go backwards from too loud to quiet, but you can always go from too quiet to loud, if you think of it like that, right? So gain staging, do it before every session, do it on every track, and make sure your vocals are not clipping. You never want to redline anything. And as always, guys, you know these videos take a long time to record and edit and stuff like that, and I don't ask for much. All I really ask is that you smash that like button for me. It really helps out my channel a lot, and it helps me keep making these videos and helping you guys learn. So if you can, just smash that like button for your boy. I really appreciate it. Number 2 is over-processing your vocals. And this can be with compression, this can be with EQ. If you're compressing a vocal -10 dBs for no reason, you know, your vocals lose all the life. And the same goes with EQ. If you take your EQ and you go crazy with it and you just raise a certain point plus 10 dBs, you raise the highs over here, you raise everything, you lower it, and then you cut all the lows and everything, that's over-processing vocals. Your vocals are gonna sound cold, your vocals are gonna sound robotic. It doesn't even feel like a real voice anymore, right? So over-processing vocals is when you do too much to a voice and it sounds like the voice is just dead. There's no life in the voice. The vocals sound just like they were just thrown in a fucking machine and spit out on the other side robotically, you know? So one rule that I always follow to make sure that I don't over-process vocals is when you're compressing, you've heard my other videos, I always tell you, the golden rule is you do not want to compress more than -3. You don't want to compress vocals more than -3. When you compress more than -3, that compression is crushing the vocals, and you got to realize that at the end of the day, this is a program, this is a computer program, and it's not going to be kind to your vocals. It's not meant to give you the perfect, most alive vocals if you tell it to crush negative 10 dBs. You know, it's going to end up sounding dead. The vocals are going to sound dead. So that's a rule that I follow when I compress. I just don't compress more than -3 in one compression. Now, another rule of thumb for EQ is when you're boosting or you're cutting, a lot of times I like to stay between the 3 and 5 each way. So boost a little area 3, or boost a little area 5, or boost a little, or cut a little area 3, or cut a little area 5. Now, in an extreme case, you can go up to like, you know, -7, but that's if you're really trying to if you really hear something that you're trying to get rid of, there's some extenuating circumstances. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but for the most part, your golden rule when you EQ is you want to stay between the 3-5 dBs boosting or cutting, you know, negative or plus. And that's a little guideline that you can follow to not over process your vocals and end up being one of these people in my number 2 biggest mistakes. Number 3, and this is one of those situation-based mistakes because it doesn't apply to everybody. Number 3 biggest mistakes that I see people do when they're mixing is they throw on way too much reverb and delay. And I know we all love reverb and delay. It makes our vocals sound fire. But when you overdo it, you gotta realize that your vocals are supposed to be clear for the most part with a little bit of, you know, stuff in the background, some reverbs and delays to give it that extra sauce. Some people just pour the whole damn motherfucking sauce bottle. They put 2 marinara sauces with the vodka sauce, all types of fucking weird, too much sauce, all right? It exists. There is such thing as too much sauce. And this happens when you throw on way too much reverb, way too much delay, and your vocals end up sounding like you recorded it in the bathroom of a fucking McDonald's off a fucking Android. You never want to use too many effects on your vocals unless it's the vibe of the song where you want it to be like weird. But for the most part, if you hear anything on the radio, if you hear anything, you know, viral songs, if you hear Billboard hits, they don't sit there and crank the reverb to the top. They don't sit there and crank the delays to the top. I see this mistake with a lot of artists and, you know, rappers and singers and stuff like that. They try to mask their voice in these reverbs and delays, and that's not exactly what you want to do every time because you end up making your vocals sound like they're bad quality. And even if you record it at a fucking $1 million studio and you crank up the reverb to the max level, your vocals are going to sound like you recorded them, you know, on a $10 microphone. So that's a big mistake that I see a lot of people use, and vice versa. You can take a $100 microphone, just EQ it, clear it up, and put light reverb, and it'll sound perfect. You never want to drown out your vocals with reverbs and delays unless you're Travis Scott, I guess, or unless it's a very specific vibe of a song where that's the vibe of the song. That's why I said that it's a situational based, but there's people that do it on every song and it's not even, and it doesn't even fit the vibe of the song, and you just end up with shitty vocals. So stop doing that shit. It's out. Number 4, a big mistake that people do when they're recording is background noise. You're about to record, you're stepping up to the mic, you're in your vibe, and in the background you just hear your fan blowing, or you hear your AC blowing, or you hear your homies on TikTok fucking playing videos and laughing and shit, like, and then you record your vocals, you go back to listen back, and you hear all that shit in the background, and when you're mixing, you're never gonna be able to take those background voices and stuff like that out completely. So you always just wanna make sure that there's no background noises and do the best that you can to ensure that you get the best quality vocals possible. Oh my god, damn, like just like that. You want to be doing everything you can to ensure that you get the best, clearest vocals possible so that when you're mixing, it's 50 times less work for you. So yes, tell your homeboys to shut the fuck up in the background and don't feel bad about it. Number 5, and this is the final one, a big mistake that I've seen after thousands of sessions, watching, engineering, just sitting in on sessions, is I see people go with the first take and just move on to the next and never go back to fix that first take if they messed up a word, if they mumbled a little bit, or if they unless it's a mumbly song, unless that's the vibe of the song, or if they're a little off beat, or if they're a little this, or if they didn't fucking swag it like they could have, you know what I'm saying? They go with the first take and they just move on to the next. And the problem with this is there are some people that are first take Drakes, perfect on the first try, never have to fix anything ever again, you're just perfect, you're the man. But for the rest of us who aren't perfect all the time, we're gonna come across a time where we did a take that could have been 10 times better. And a lot of times when you listen back to the full song, some people will listen back and there's something that they don't like about it, but they can't quite pinpoint it because it really was that, you know, taking the first takes and stuff, and then after when you're listening back to the song, you might not even like the song anymore, you know? So one thing that I do as an engineer, and this is what really helps me separate from a lot of other engineers, and this is why a lot of people like to work with me, is if I hear a take that you did that I think that you can do way better, and I hear it, I'm listening. An artist is in his vibe, he's just trying to finish the song, right? And that's okay, that's an artist's job. As an engineer, you have to be actually listening, and you have to be able to tell that if somebody can do something better, just take control of the session. You do have some authority in this, right? You're the engineer, you're controlling the session. So tell that person, run that back, give me another one, okay? And I promise you, this person is gonna thank you because a lot of times they don't hear what you hear on the other side. They're just vibing out with the song. You're the one that has to use your judgment and get the better take. And at the end of the day, when you know that person had a better take in them and you make them do it, the whole song comes out better, that artist is happier, the song comes out 50 times better, you know, everybody's happy. And that's one of the things that I see people make the mistakes. They do the first take and they just move on and they never come back to it, and then they end up listening back to the song, they don't even like the song, they trash the song, they don't even ever end up releasing it. But the song could have been good if you just took a little extra time with perfecting each take, you know, and not just moving on to the next one for the sake of time, right? So those are the 5 biggest mistakes I see people make when they're recording and mixing. And this is just my personal observation after years of audio engineering, years of being in the studio, thousands of sessions. This is the 5 things that I kind of noticed that if people just work on these 5, I promise you, I guarantee it, that your songs, your sessions, your life will become 50 times better. So go work on these 5 things right now and let me know how much better your sessions end up becoming. Thank you for watching this week's video. I hope you learned a lot. And if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that I can continue to keep teaching you guys everything I know about mixing and mastering to help you become the best engineer you can possibly be. And as always guys, I'll see you in next week's video. I'm out.